So good stories.
Good stories, well told.
Well told, yeah.
That's right.
And to be honest, in your heart of hearts, when you first read the scripts and the concept for The Chosen, did you think, well, this is great, but I don't think it's going to take off and be a success, or did you see something in it that could work?
No, I mean, because I knew everything starts with a script, and the scripts were so good that I thought, this is fantastic, and hopefully it'll go somewhere, but I know there's no guarantees, and the only guarantee was that I had 4 episodes of a TV show, and that was more consecutive episodes of a television show than I'd ever shot in my career. Not counting a couple of soaps that I did in New York early on, but yeah, and then just being on set and seeing the moments that we were creating, we kind of knew, you know, even by the end of those filming, or nearing the end of the filming of the first 4 episodes, that what we were doing was uniquely special. It was uniquely special. It was unlike anything else that had ever been tackled before. So I kind of felt that something might happen, but you never can conceive what that's going to look like.
Taking on the role of Jesus Christ, how would you describe that feeling of taking on that character, that person who was, that person who is for billions of people on the planet?
Unworthy, humbling, challenging, I'm constantly challenged by him and the character, and there's always this striving to be more like him in order to be able to play him, and being, you know, falteringly human, that can feel impossible at times, but I know that I'm here doing this for a reason, and I'm just going to continue to give him everything that I have.
And I've heard you say in interviews as well, Jonathan, that struggle that you experienced, and perhaps still do, I'm not good enough to play someone like Jesus Christ, but then on the other hand, perhaps I was chosen for a reason to do this. How does that struggle play out?
Well, that's just the reality. There is this, like, I'm not really worthy to be in the presence of God and face to face with God at some point, or even to be called a follower of His because of what He did for me and who I am as a sinful, broken human being. But of course I'm going to devote my life to Him, because my life cannot get any better. It cannot exist without Him. I simply cannot exist without God. And because of that, I devote my life to the pursuit of His perfection in as best as I can meet that challenge. It's never going to happen. I'm never going to get there. I can aspire to sainthood. That's my goal, is aspire to sainthood. Will I get there? Probably not. I mean, I got a few days in purgatory at least, at the very minimum. But I'm gonna.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, but I'm gonna do the best I can, and you know, make sure I'm exercising the sacraments and going to confession and receiving the Eucharist and asking for the help of all those in the cloud of witnesses that came before us, and the saints, and Padre Pio, and St. John Paul, and St. Faustina, and all of my friends that have sustained me throughout everything that I've endured, and what we've been doing to try to tell Jesus' story for the modern day audience, and try not to screw it up.
5 incredible seasons, and
so far.
The challenge of going from working in Los Angeles, broke, wondering where the next job is coming from, in just 7 short years. You can't walk down the street now. I saw you here in Rome without security, people taking photographs, wanting autographs, and you know, seen as a celebrity is one thing, and having to deal with that, you know, that whole mindset. But then also, because of the person you are playing and portraying, the kind of blurring of the line. Whereas a great line I heard you say before, that for a lot of people, you are the closest thing to Jesus that they know, apart from reading His words and discovering about his life, that when they see the show, you are the image here on earth of the person they are so devoted to.
Yeah.
And even that time when a woman came to you with her disabled child, tell me about that. And I thought it was a perfect example of the position you find yourself in, a very difficult position.
Yeah, I was speaking at a stadium event a few years ago with my friend Pastor Greg Laurie, and we were wrapping up the evening, and I was getting ready to leave, and security had come to me before I left the room that I was hanging out in, saying that there was a woman that somehow they figured out where I was kind of held, and wanted to just meet me, and brought her son, and her son was in a wheelchair, and he asked, did you want to say hello, or do you want me to find you another route to just kind of head out? I said, no, of course I'll say hello and see her, and so I did, and went out and to greet them, and she was just so excited, and I immediately realized that her son, he wasn't able to speak because of his disability, and he was just fully immobilized, and she had said to me, she had cited that their favorite episode of The Chosen was the one in which the paraplegic is lowered down through the roof of somebody's house. In our story, we make it Zebedee, James and John's father's house. And that, wouldn't it be great if God did the same thing for my son? And then there was just a pause, and I was like, oh, does she think I can do that? I didn't know what to say. I just said that would be amazing. I don't have that gift that I'm aware of, but I'd love to pray with you if that's okay. And she said, yeah. So we prayed together, and I just said some words, and she's very grateful, probably took a few photos, I think, I can't remember, and then I walked away, and then I just burst into tears, because I thought at that moment, I thought to myself, well, surely on some level she must have been disappointed. I don't know what she was hoping for or expecting, but from what she said to me, that couldn't have been that couldn't have been it. Like, maybe she was thinking, maybe there's a chance,
But it shows you the power of the show, because of how well it is made, because of how good a job that you and the rest of the cast are doing.
And I think how God is using the show to reach people, to reach people's hearts, to kind of come through the television and bring them closer, bring them into this intimacy, this friendship with Jesus that they've never really seen depicted before anywhere else. But so many of them have imagined that that's what Jesus would be like. Like, so many people say to me, you're exactly what I would have pictured if I met Jesus. Like, I'm looking at him thinking, watching you on TV, and I'm like, this, he has to be this way. He must be like this. And so they start to import or impose or project that relationship that they have, or those ideas or those expectations, on a subconscious level, or maybe an even semi-conscious level, onto me, to an extent where, and even today, just meeting priests that are like, Jesus, hi Jesus. I'm like, hey Jonathan. I try to make sure they hear me say my own name, to remind them that, like, there is a line of demarcation,
At the premiere the other night, when I was there as well, and I said it to you, all the fans were shouting, Jesus, Jesus, trying to get your attention. It puts the bar much higher for you in your own personal life as well, doesn't it? I mean, as a Catholic influencer, as you're really being seen as someone who's setting an example.
Yeah, it makes me much more aware of an implied level of accountability as a performer, which may or may not be fair. But, if I'm being held to the standards of Jesus, or being seen as somebody that is at least trying to live out those standards in their life, well, that's great, because it's just better for me spiritually to be living in that manner. You know?
Of course.
But I also know, like, you know, I may do roles beyond the chosen that might be, you know, weird for people or upsetting. I wouldn't do anything, I think, that goes against my beliefs or anything like that, or a character that doesn't sit right with me, or that I don't discern first with the Lord before I commit to a project, which I do for everything I do, no matter what it is. I just did a movie last fall that's a romantic comedy that comes out next year that has nothing to do with faith or the Bible. It's modern day. It's with Kevin James. It's it's really funny. It's sweet. It's a wholesome film. They don't make films like this anymore, and I'm so proud of it. I've seen a cut of it already. It's called Solo Mio. It looks great, but it's not Jesus.
Yeah.
And I'm clean shaven for the most part.
Okay.
So I'm really curious as to how that'll play with people.
So in the future, if
I look more like you in this movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great. And maybe.
So it's a downgrade.
Downgrade. Look, this is the Irish side of him coming out. His mother being
Took
from
you a
Monaghan.
second.
It took a second. It took a second. But how long did it take you then to grow this bad boy out?
Oh, you know, this is probably
A day and a half?
No, I wish. No, I'm a slow grower here. It's probably about 5 months.
But I'm laughing at the fact, thinking of you saying, okay, well, look, I'm only going to take roles that align with my faith. That's going to rule everything out in Hollywood. You're going to be...
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not everything. No, I mean, because it's... Well, then you have to ask yourself, then what is it that aligns with your faith?
Of
what
course.
does that even mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it could be a sci-fi film, but like the characters are wrestling with existential questions of reality and science versus faith versus consciousness, versus extraterrestrials. Like, where does all of it fit in the lens of faith? So all of it's
all these universal themes can be found in all these places. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap, on that topic, I've heard you speak before as well about spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
And, the more successful you become, the more you're kind of attacked, whether that's being tempted or...
I did read a script for a Western that I thought was phenomenal, that unfortunately conflicted with what I'm with The Chosen now, and a couple of other things where it just wasn't going to work out.
They told you about the money. You said, "What conflict? Where do I sign?"
No, but it was pretty hardcore, and there was a lot of violence to it. But it was so beautifully written, and it was the violence within the context of the story was very organic to the time period and what was happening and how people were living, and the trek westward and just how raw everything was and untamed, the West was. And
so like reality for back then.
Kind of, yeah. And that to me was really, really interesting. And then there was this one character that, like, he still had a moral compass, I'm like, well, that's cool. So that's something I would...
I'll be that guy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But as far as spiritual warfare goes, I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, we just spent 3 weeks in Matera and Italy, and I mean, we all felt effects of spiritual warfare in many, many different ways, and it was, that period of this filming this season 6 is the hardest thing any of us have ever done, probably in our lives as artists. I've never done anything harder than that.
Really? Why was that?
Well, I think because we're filming the crucifixion. And I think because of the impact that it's going to have on people, it's going to be so huge and so life-changing for so many people on a level that they've never experienced cinematically. I think it's just going to really propagate the name of Jesus, at a breakneck speed. There are so many beautiful moments in it, but it's going to be extremely hard for people because we've had now 5, and by that point, we will have had 5.5 seasons of knowing Jesus as our friend, as a miracle worker, as an intimate companion and a colleague and a teacher and a rabbi, and having spent 45 hours of story with him healthy and okay, and then to see that rapidly decline in a singular season is it's just going to be devastating.
It's going to be powerful.
Yeah.
It's going to be incredible. And
Yeah.
Season 5 has just premiered. It's launched. It's on Amazon. It's on TV networks around the world, and people can look up the website The Chosen, where they can watch the previous seasons free of charge, which is awesome. Finally, Jonathan, as I'm so grateful for this time with you and this conversation, looking back on everything that The Chosen has represented for the viewers, for you, for the cast, the crew, what are you most proud of when you look back at this incredible project so far, yet to be completed?
The reach and impact of the show, and the reality of what it's doing for people, how the reality of how God is using it to encounter people that even previously had no relationship with Him whatsoever, but are now curious about one, or going to a church for the first time, or buying a Bible for the first time. You know, we've seen it even with like guest cast members, like just being on the show for a couple of episodes, and all of a sudden now they're like, I think I want to buy a Bible. I mean, what's better than that?
Yeah.
You know?
As Father Cullum said to you, I'll say it again, not as a priest, but I'll pray for you. Jonathan,
Thank you, Colin.
thank you so much.
God bless you.